Welcome to State Scoop TV. I'm Jake Williams. We are here with Maria Thompson. She's the Chief Risk Officer for the state of North Carolina. Maria, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Jake.
So, Maria, we are here at NASCIO Midyear 2017 in Crystal City, Virginia, and obviously a big topic of conversation here has been cybersecurity. Tell me a little bit about your main priorities and focuses around cyber for the year ahead, and how have they really changed over the last couple of years?
So my focus has not changed. One of the key priorities that we've been looking at is how can we gain visibility into our environment? How can we enable our executive branch agencies to work together as a team? How can we share resources? How can we collaborate across our environment? Again, visibility is key to ensuring that we are protecting our citizens' data.
Yeah.
So some of the initiatives that we've been working on, I like to call it the 3 C's. We try to be creative in our approach when it comes to budget requirements, because we understand that we have a shortage of budget and funding. We also communicate across all the different branch agencies, public and private. Leverage our private sector companies that are out there, because being in the research triangle allows us to have a great opportunity to tap into the private sector companies and what they can bring to the game, and obviously communicate. So communicating across and ensuring that the leadership understands, the business understands what the risks are and how we can work together in order to ensure that we're protecting the data on a day-to-day basis.
Wow, that's really cool. And tell me about how in North Carolina you guys are planning strategically for cybersecurity, and how do you plan on and execute some of these big projects that we talk about?
So it's very hard, and I think you may have heard an earlier speaker today at NASCIO mention that it's hard to have a 5-year strategic plan. It's almost a wish list now, because it's also dependent on the budget. And so we do have to be, as I mentioned earlier, to be creative. We look at what are those tools and capabilities that will give us the more bang for our buck. We also look at tools that are not going to necessarily create more noise on the network, because we understand that we have a shortage of personnel and resources when it comes to incident response and monitoring. So ensuring that we are making sure that we're making wise decisions when we purchase or when we look at tools and capabilities that are out there. Again, also communication, and again, it's about working together as a team within our environment, because no single agency can operate by themselves. So no more operating in silos of excellence, as I like to call it, coming together as a team.
Yeah, and that's interesting. I think that the collaboration point is important there, and actually to segue right off of that, how are you collaborating with other agencies outside of yours, and what are you doing to work together around cybersecurity?
So we've created working groups, and I have a close group. I tend to target a lot of the larger agencies because they have the preponderance of data and the sensitive data within the agency. So we're talking about the revenues, the transportations, public safety, health and human services, those critical data that we host. So we have a working group that we meet together on occasion, case by case, ad hoc as needed. I also, most recently, I've been, I'm a member now of the State Emergency Response Commission, and so using that as a platform to get the word out about cybersecurity and what we need to do better, tapping into the local government, figuring out how we can all pull together our resources and share information, indicators of compromise, so that we can better shore up our defenses.
That's great. And we hear at conferences like these a lot about buzzwords, and what's the biggest cyber buzzword that you find yourself getting tired of, and how are you trying to channel the ideas that represents into action?
So, I would say the biggest buzzword that we've been hearing is UBA, User Behavioral Analytics. I think it has promise. So I'm not going to definitely say that that's not something that we're not, looking at. But I think, as I mentioned before, given our environment and budget constraints as well as resource constraints, I would prefer to wait until there's a little bit more maturity in that space before I would, look to bring something on that network, to make sure that when we do make that strategic decision, that it feeds our tools that we have right now and give us that common operating picture that we're looking for.
Sure. And last question here, how has emerging technology changed cybersecurity in North Carolina?
I would say, from my standpoint, for me in particular, we think of things, we approach things a little bit more methodical. And so it's no longer necessarily there's a new tool out there, let's throw it on the network. It's let's think about how we can work with the business to make sure that we are enabling them, but also make sure that they understand the risks that are associated with them. So, we have indicators of, not indicators of compromise, but we have IoT devices that are coming on the network. Most recently, I had a discussion with NC State as they're looking to look at studies along chatbots. How can we use chatbots to better enable our citizens? So these are capabilities that we definitely want to leverage, but we also want to make sure that we do that in a more secure manner.
That's great. We'll look forward to hearing more about that and seeing how that goes. Maria, thanks for being with us today.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Jake.
Thank you. For more about what Maria is working on in North Carolina, check out statescoop.com. Again, I'm with Maria Thompson. She's the Chief Risk Officer for the state of North Carolina. I'm Jake Williams, StateScoop's Manager of Strategic Initiatives. Thanks for watching.